or doesn't stop you to know only resistor, transistors, and inductors. You have something more as well. Like those are just like alphabets of a language. Resistor, transistor, and inductors are just the alphabets, like in any language, like say English. And knowing the words is like logic gates and flip-flops. And in the end, like having a processor, understanding how the processor works is like speaking the language fluently. And yeah, by this I want to say that an education isn't how much you have committed to memory or even how much you know.
2012.
It's being able to differentiate between what you know and what you don't. So it's a beautiful quote that you must remember. And after saying that, so what now? So I would say you might ask a question like, okay, fine, you have spoken about different fields of electronics and which field might require programming or which programming language. How do I decide what I need to choose or what I need to concentrate on? So one thing I would like to introduce you to, like probably some of you might already know this and some of you might not know this. This is called Gartner's cycle, which is released every year. And this is the latest one that is released this year. And this particular plot will tell you the new technology, new innovations, or new field of engineering, which is, you know, in the peak of development and which would last for some time or which has already reached the plateau. So if you can see the recently released graph, there is something called Secure Access Service Edge, which in the end would also contain cryptography and network security, which you will also be introduced to in your 8th semester if you take network security as one of your electives. Or I don't know if it's a compulsory course now, but yeah, this is again a field of electronics which concentrates more on networking and security part, which requires C programming, C++ programming, Python scripting, and everything. And there is something called embedded AI, which also comes under embedded systems. So if you see, as of now, this is particularly in the peak of inflated expectations. People are expecting more in this, and a lot of innovations are happening in this field, even in the secure access services, in the field of security, hardware security, software security, and there is some new innovations happening in carbon-based transistors. Like industries have already reached the limit of reducing the transistor size. The more deeper they go, the more difficult it is for them to make the revenue out of it. So they're trying to come up with new technology to replace the existing technology, and a lot of research is also happening in that field since several years. You can also concentrate in this field. There are many such fields. So based on what is currently existing, what is in the trend, and what would exist in the future, you can decide what you want to concentrate your future on. And again, I would like to remind you that whatever you're studying in the university is just to introduce you to different fields of electronics, and that's just the beginning. Don't stop there. It's up to you to choose some particular field and then continue in that particular field. And saying that, the takeaway of today's discussion is, as I said, university education, you just need to remember that nothing is taught without a reason. Everything has its own significance, and learn whatever is being taught to you. And just remember, it's just the beginning, not a conclusion. But being a university student, being a bachelor graduate, what you also need to have in your priority list is try to be independent. Try to be as much independent as possible. Don't wait for being spoon-fed, which happens a lot in India. Teachers teach you everything, but as I said, that's not sufficient. Like, that's, of course, it's really good, but then that's really not sufficient. You need to put in some extra efforts to learn something more than what is being taught at the university, because in university, they can't teach you everything. They can't teach you all the programming languages. They can't teach you, they can't tell you everything that is needed for you to be an engineer. They can only give you a credibility to be an engineer, but it is up to you. It's in your hands to be a good engineer. It's up to you to decide if you want to be just an engineer graduate, or if you want to really be a good engineer, to use the knowledge that you're being taught and also apply the way you want it, or in the most optimized way. That's what makes you a good engineer. So learn things on your own, because when you get into the industry, nobody would come and teach you how to program or how to print a statement on the screen. It's you who need to take the efforts to learn something new, even if you don't know it. So rather than pressuring yourself after getting into the industry, I would suggest you to already start learning something, so it would be easier for you to integrate into the corporate world or into the industrial atmosphere. So just better yourself, because you got nothing to lose. And yeah, I think that's it. The summary is programming is necessary. And if you ask me, I would say with my experience, with my internship or with my student job, okay, I would like to just also tell you my experience being a master's student and also working on certain projects during my master's. I worked on ASIC design, it's application specific integrated circuit. And I had to use like VHDL and Verilog there, and also some Tickle script. Of course, I didn't know Tickle programming, and I had to go through certain information materials to get accustomed to it. I had to learn it. So you need not necessarily know everything in advance. You might be bombarded with chances for you to learn something new. And when you get certain chances, I would suggest you not let go of that chance. So better grab it and learn it. For you may not know in the future, who knows, that could give you some really nice opportunities in future in that field. And I am also currently working on post-quantum cryptography on a signature scheme and key exchange mechanism called dilithium and crystal kyber, which is purely C programming. And my job is to try to bring it into reality. It could be used on the hardware, how exactly we have to optimize the hardware, how exactly that thing can be realized in the real life when it is processed on a processor or something. So for this, I also have to know C programming for me to understand how the encryption algorithm works or how the digital signature scheme works. And also I'll have to know the hardware architecture, how to program a hardware, or how to accustom the C code into the instruction set architecture. So in the end, I should also know something in the hardware, and I should also know something in the software, so it would be easier for me to work in this field. Yeah, that's my experience. I would say it's better for you to know at least C, C++, and Python. That's it. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me.
Yeah, thank you, Dinakar. That was wonderful. It was wonderful to know your experiences. And I'm sure our students would have some questions. Yes. Does anybody have any questions, any interactions?
Excuse me, ma'am. I do have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
I know there are a lot of good institutes in London, but how viable do you think they are after Brexit?
Okay. So you want to do your master's in London, is it? What's your main strategy for doing?
Because I believe I don't know how many institutes in Germany. What do you call tutor in English?
Okay, I'm doing my master's in English.
Yeah, that's what I am asking. How good is London, and just comparison.
Okay, so you need to realize the fact that when you're planning to do your master's, you need to have a lot of things in your mind. One, yes, you're good. You want to see what's the language of instruction, because it shouldn't be difficult for you to learn something in a foreign language, right? So you already know English, so you should choose a course that is already being taught in English. And of course, in London, everything is being taught in English. That's good. But the second criteria would be, is it economically feasible for a student to invest so much on a foreign education and in the end worry about getting a job or not? So there are a lot of opportunities around the world, which it's like, there are a lot of students who think that doing masters means doing something in United States. No, that's not the only option. You have a lot of countries in Europe where education is offered for free. Like I'm doing my master's for free. I'm not paying anything. Like I'm just paying for my living expenses here. like the university is free. I just pay some semester contribution every year. But if in case of London, I must say it's expensive. London, the cost of living is also expensive, and also the university fees is really high. So if I'm not wrong, once you finish your masters in London, you wouldn't have much time to look for jobs. You'll have to probably return back and then probably start looking for jobs in London. So you wouldn't have a buffer period after your masters to look for jobs. But in Germany, you get a job seeking visa after your masters for like 18 months. That is 1.5 years, and it's pretty easy for you to find a job by then, if I'm not wrong. And again, it depends on you, how good you are. And